Well, I'll make a start on our 6 o'clock meeting. And official business of welcome all. Good to see Matt. I spoke to every other person. Oh, I got 10. Right, yeah. Evening councillors, public and officers. Nice warm day, so there's some water there at the back. Use water, so do make use of that. Normal stuff about reminder to turn switch mobile phones to silent. There are no in the public. So virtually, is there anybody virtual? Well, oh, yeah, if there is anybody virtual, just turn off your microphone. But disrupt the meeting. The meeting is being recorded and will be available in due course on the council's YouTube channel. Reminder for councillors to ensure that those attending virtually can hear the proceedings and will recording to touch an entire meeting. Please ensure that you project your voice and speak clearly. Please remember it's a formal meeting and that we do not refer to councillors or officers by their first names. There is no fire alarm plan there. Therefore, upon hearing the fire alarm, please leave the building via your nearest fire exit. Assemble at the top of the car park. Please be aware that the contents displayed on your iPad or laptop may be seen by others or members of the public attending the meeting. Therefore, please close down screens which are displaying confidential information during the yeah, that's fair. That's right. I can see that, yeah. Sorry. Okay, so we'll get on to the main says. So apologies for absence, Kelly. Please
Thank you, Chair. Apologies from councillors Peter Lever and Liz Spear.
Any others members? No. Thank you. To approve was a correct record the minutes of the meeting held on the 12th of June 2025, which are attached pages 5 to 12 of the agenda. Everybody happy? Anybody got any concerns?
Yeah, modern.gov has been really janky in the last few months.
Yeah, thank Councillor Bush. I had exactly the same problem this afternoon.
I tried it on the left home before I left.
Mine's something here when I got here. But yeah.
But it's been really bad the last couple of months.
Okay.
So let me hit enter.
Thank you. But the minutes, I don't see any, so you're happy that I can sign any record. Mover, do we need it? Yeah, please move in a second. Councillor Coombs moves, seconded by Councillor Wilson. All in favour?
Understanding, because I wasn't there.
Items brought forward in the opinion the chair should be considered by the meeting as a matter of urgency. I don't believe I have anything.
Not aware, Chair.
Declarations of interest.
I've received none, Chair.
You agree the agenda between part A and part B. We do not have a part B item, so we can move straight into item 6, performance and financial management, 44, pages 13 to 78. Report by the Deputy Director, I should say, of Resources, Deputy Chief Executive of Strategy Resources. Second. The item. Over to you. Great. Oh, sorry.
Also, Lucy and Tony to present the performance information. And then we'll
Oh, of course, yeah.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. First of all, with section 4, Lucy's going to run through the corporate plan and the major projects, and then we'll move on to the financial elements after that and then take the credit.
Okay. Over to you then, Lucy.
Thank you, Chair. If I can refer you to 4.2 of the report, this brings forward the key deliveries in quarter 4 across our 5 programmes. First of all, housing and community safety. The housing strategy went through public consultation and was formally adopted by members at Strategy and Resources in May. The Altair report to look at the operating model for how we hold housing stock was also brought to the same strategy and resources in May, and since then we've subsequently been registered as a social housing provider. When we last provided an update, we were looking to purchase the 3 properties in Ilfracombe to deliver decent healthy homes. That was completed in March, and we're now undertaking the design work to build one of those properties. A number of surveys are ongoing. We continue to work with 5 CLTs across the district, and in particular, Bickleston in Ilfracombe, the enabling works near. The local authority housing fund, we purchased 2 properties in Slade, and we need to complete 2 more purchases before the end of the financial year. We've hosted community engagement sessions focusing on emergency planning with town and parish councils to ensure we have established plans in place should incidents occur. The Renters' Rights Bill comes forward in the summer of this year, going through Parliament of Presidents, and this is preparing obviously changes to their operating model. In terms of regeneration and economic growth, the planning policy team are getting prepared for the start of the local plan review, which is due to commence in autumn. That interim preparatory work is underway. In terms of the Future High Street Fund, we have received handover of phase 2 of Barnstable Central Car Park, which is formerly Queen Street, Bed Street. Phase 3 will be completed in March next year when Balfour Street scheme comes to an end. The Balfour Street scheme, steel frame is erected, concrete floors are in, and work continues to bring that forward. In terms of the occupancy model for the Balfour Street, the team are working towards what that model will look like, how we address the occupancy, and expressions of interest actually are going out this week to the companies, individuals to contact the council and show an interest in these properties. 7 Brethren Car Park, that opened back in January this year, also part of Q4. We're now looking at procuring a footpath connecting the new car park with the Target Tennis Centre and Leisure Centre. Works in that commencing in September after the fair. Moving on to the fair, we are working with the Showman's Guild to ensure the fair operates for the first time on the new car park this year, that transition from the former car park. So we're working closely to ensure that's a smooth transition. And the public conveniences and shelter on the front completion of quarter 4. Moving on to Bridge Chambers, this is the partnership project with the Arts Council. Work started on site in April and a compound has been erected. Work should be complete by March next year. The final claim for Shared Prosperity Fund and for England Prosperity Fund was submitted. However, since this report was drafted, there's been a further year extension of that. Butchers Row scheme was formerly part of the Future High Street Fund scheme and separated out. That has 2 outstanding matters that we're trying to work forward, 1 being planning and 2 coloured surface. We're working closely with Highways to try and find a solution to colour surfacing at present. In April this year, Port Marine Code was published. There's a project team being brought together to understand the implications for the council and a report to members this year. Site investigations are underway for Oxford Grove Car Park retaining wall. We now have appointed a design consultant who will bring on board those plans, and hopefully once they're drawn up, we'll be able to procure a civil contractor to perform those works. Similarly, the same will occur for Remington Key. Specifications have been prepared before we can procure a contractor again. And finally, on generation and economic growth, we've been awarded funding to document material and artefacts that we've held at the museum from the 1980s. There's 2 phases. There's that part of work. In the first phase, there's been awarded a unit in Green Lane to work with registering those artefacts. Moving on to customer focus, we were anticipating handover of Green Lane's hub back in Q4. That took place since then. The facility is now open. back on the 16th of June, and I can report the numbers are really positive. I think they're having 300 visits each week in the first 3 weeks, and up to over 300 in the fourth week. We've also brought artificial intelligence into the customer service programme. We're really doing that on a case-by-case basis. Data is also being migrated onto our new intranet, our internal website. That should go live by the end of July, beginning of August, and it's a slow burner, so we don't bring everything over at once. In terms of our software and licensing, there's a number of modules coming for us month by month. Taxi module will be the next one to go live.
What module?
Taxi licensing. And then just to conclude, we've implemented community engagement software and implemented this to put an reporting into form. And moving on to environmental enhancement, the new failure in the process form has been installed, and despite slight slippage in the programme, handover is due to take place imminently. Everything is operating as it should, and full training for all staff is taking place. We've received £748,000 of funding towards decarbonisation at the Landmark Theatre and Queensway. This would remove traditional gas and oil boilers and the team are mobilising to think about that shape that would take moving forward to specifications. Solar PV was installed at North Cool. Again, working towards our decarbonisation plan, and we've appointed a consultant for their specification for solar at the crematorium. They're just looking at options for battery storage at the moment, which is slightly complicated, that initial specification, but working through all those options with national storage, etc. The air quality strategy is in draft form. That is brought to members in June and is currently under consultation, closing on the 21st of July. Finally, but not least, we've got organisational development. The Employment Rights Bill brought forward additional requirements on ourselves in terms of prevention of sexual harassment. Project team has been pulled together to baseline that position and ensure we comply with the legislation. 360 surveys have been issued for all SMT, and we have engaged with national appraisers. That concludes that high-level overview for you. Do you have any questions before I hand you back to Tony?
Thank you very much, Lucy. Very good. Thanks to James.
And Lucy, wow, there's so much stuff going on. Lots of really brilliant projects. I think.
Start
again.
Yeah, Lucy, a big thank you. Lots of really good things going on. A big thanks to the team. It really is impressive projects that we're moving forward with. It's just a quick question. You mentioned that you extended the rural prosperity fund and concerns around that. I know last time it was brought up, there were worries that we were basically struggling to allocate that and to get applicable grants. Is that still the case, or is that situation improved? As councillors, can you do more to spread the word?
I believe we aren't. We don't have any problems allocating that fund for this second or the extension of the funding. We're continuing to fund existing schemes up and running. Oh, sorry.
Add to that, so obviously in the last financial year, we got members saying we had a grant scheme, but grant scheme plus distributing. Since we brought that to members last year, there was a bigger uptake on that grant scheme last year. So we actually spent a lot more on the grant scheme than we originally anticipated, which was good. So all of that money was spent in 24-25. That's great. The new money for 25-26, Lucy said, has extended the scheme for a further year now. That capital money is coming forward, and we're just looking at a couple of projects as to where we can spend that money. There's time constraint, we need to spend it by 31st of March. So we're looking at a couple of potential projects. One associated with 14 Board and High Street that we're moving, And the second one was around a piece of land, dwelling toilets. So just looking at those opportunities to make sure we can spend that money into the fight.
Any other questions? Councillor Hughes?
Oh, you talked about the internet system on there. Are councillors going to be able to have access to that so we can get quick access to policies and staffing bits on there?
I believe there was your facts.
Couple from you see. So central car park, obviously, see that at the moment. Is it, the last time this one, going on Alexander Road, that, but with no signs, what's your, this, Alexander Road, with no signs, but,
I can report we were installing charge boards and entrance signs and installed last week.
Brilliant. Thanks. Good. And then to the coloured resurfacing of Butcher's Road. So I do remember talking about it 2 or 3 years ago. I apologise for this committee talking about this for the last 2 years. What is the issue you can talk about?
The scheme is bringing forward Butchers Road as a pedestrianised area. It will still have vehicular access at the same times of day, but it's to change that appearance and bring forward more of a public realm and making it a highway.
Okay.
So it's still an adopted highway, so we're working with Devon County Council to find a suitable solution, both in terms of maintenance but aesthetics.
And will that roll round the corner onto the high street and then into Cross Street?
The full scope of that design hasn't been finalised yet.
Thanks for those.
For this bottom,
Also, you close.
I was just thinking that often you hear toilets. Can you remind me of when they're going to have those also, if there isn't why?
Yeah, so we're working with town council at the moment. Obviously here toilets, we are looking at a lease at the moment, because obviously we've got the whole revision order that's going through Secretary of State. So whilst that's in place, we can't transfer 300 toilets. That's why we're looking at a lease so that we can get the transfer to the town council as quickly as possible. We want to make sure that we transfer the remaining toilets in one go, because that makes it easy for the town council in terms of management and operation of them. I understand here is transferred over, we're obviously completing all the ones on the seafront. Times for holidays come, they'll be open. The aim then is the remaining ones to be done as one batch, which will hopefully be done ASAP on the seafront also as well. So that's currently with the town council and their solicitors. So we're nearing the end of that conveyancing, so hopefully also we should be in place to transfer those.
so the ones that some of
The seafront ones will be ones we're aiming to get done first, because they're the new ones that will be on the seafront. The tier ones then, with the remaining ones who can be up, will then, and also people off the road for the ones, they come across as the final batch, and that will be awesome.
Brilliant. Really quickly, you see the fair there, so this year, did I hear that right? So the fair will have locations.
No, the fair will transition to the new car park at the new centre.
Is that side big, smaller?
It should be the same.
And the whole fantastic feedback from the aspect too. So please, that's congratulations, and certainly those that are using it. Great stuff. And not having council present, but county centre, so everybody I hear is very positive when talking on the streets. Other boys, but it's really good. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Chair. I'm here to present the revenue capital position for 23-24. So first, let's talk to our revenue position. The revenue budget for 24-25 improved from balance was 16.433 million. As at the 31st of March 25, pleasing to report final outturn of the budget surplus of £322,000. Breakdown of these movements are shown in Appendix A on page 27. 313 favourable movement from 23 is mainly attributable to the additional business rates income in the year of 542,000. There are a number of other smaller variations coming back to the overall movement, and these are detailed in 5.1.4. From the revenue budget surplus of 322,000, was proposed to set aside this amount into the following earmark reserves. Test fund reserve 140,000, strategic contingency reserve 100,000, the budget management reserve 82,000. Business rates reserve include a balance of 138,000 that will be utilised in 25, 26, 26, 27 to mitigate against the timing differences of the business rates awarded in 24, 25. From an accounting perspective, will be impacted over the next 2 years. This leaves the reserve with a residue balance of 639,300, which is our protection against any future volatility. The Green Lanes trading account for 24-25 produced a net return of 196,000. Compared to previous years, surpluses of 23-24 was 237,000, 22-23 was 296,000, and 21-22 was 244,000. At 31st of March, the council's external borrowing is now at 12 million. Some of the major schemes are now underway or nearing completion, and the need to borrow is slowly filtering its way through into our external borrowing figures. Earmark reserve balances can be found in Appendix B on pages 29 to 32. And moving on to the capital elements, the 24-25 capital programme is attached to Appendix D. The actual spend in 24-25 was 16.477 million, resulting in a carry forward of the budget to 24-25 to 3.693 million. Including the 24-25 carry forward, current capital programme 25-26 is now just over 18 million. Further variations of 1.3 million proposed to the 25-26 capital programme, and these are detailed in 5.4.8 report. All these changes take the revised capital programme to just over £20 million, and the details of these can be found in Appendix in your pages 144. These funds can be seen in 5.4.13 on page 23. Then we have the normal treasury management, debtors management, and general debtors in 5.5 to 5.7. So that concludes the financial presentation. We'll have to take any questions.
Thank you, Tony. And again, I mean, this report's quite great, they're open and transparent. Yeah, and have some positive movements are some. The members, I'll be open up to members first, to the questions. I want to ask that. See, that obviously been all. Where is there any particular areas of the district that is within that person? The two elements of the thought with works on
A lot of that reduction was from the Street Fair Street, development and part of the ground change. There was a general slightly lower levels than the previous years. Need to see how we look at the Q1 this year and see the races the levels of recovery.
Well, I know last summer this person was a particularly full summer.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Thank you, Dad. So yeah, obviously, as Tony alluded to, obviously some of that impact was obviously due to the works taking place in the car park. Some of that would have been displaced to other car parks. Green Lanes obviously saw an increase in car parking income, so that's not shown within our pay and display income, that's shown on the Green Lanes income account. So some of that money would have gone across to Green Lanes. But obviously there was an impact because we were carrying out work in the town centre, but with all work to do, there's going to be some impact. It is only a one-off, hopefully. I have had a look at the income for the Q1, and it is up on Q1 of last year. So obviously we've had price rise in terms of prices going up in April. Those price rises equating to about 6 to 7% of the prices from last year. Q1 income this year is actually about 14% up on Q1 of last year. So actually some of that declining income last year is actually recovered in the first quarter as well as the pharmaceuticals. So obviously we haven't had the summer months yet. Obviously the first quarter is looking better than the first quarter last year, even when you factor in the price increase.
So members, the recommendation is 2.1 through to 2.6. Dominating reading line. Yeah, can we have to move those recommendations? Moved by Councillor Bush and seconded by Councillor Jones. All those in favour? Unanimous. Thank you. Item 7 is the annual treasury management report. It's 5 to 6 of the document, and that's the chief financial officer. Hello, Mr. Mistake.
Yeah. Yeah, this report provides details of the long-term position for the 24-25 treasury activities. Just chat through the executive summary and page 82 of the agenda. So during 24-25, you'll see that we added an additional unfinanced capital expenditure of £1 billion. Previous item took through the capital programme. But largely that relates to the improvements to the process for Brinsworthy, additional temporary accommodation. We also see that we had additional finance leases of £3.7 million. Again, that's related to the fleet vehicles and the new property which is going to be IFRS 16 changes. We then take off the minimum revenue provision of £2 million. Revenue for the year brings you back to a revised capital financing requirement of £33.3 million. That is our underlying borrowing from the total stock capital program. There's already 6.1 million of borrowing with finance leases, so our true underlying need to borrow for treasury purposes is 27.7 million. As Tony alluded to, our borrowing at 31st of March was 12 million, so we have 15.7 million in total borrowing. Yeah, at 31st of March, we had a net debt position of 6 million. You also see on page 91 of your agenda, I've provided you the borrowing that we have. You'll see the first 4 items for the 3 million that we've been carrying for a while. So you'll see the rates that we've got locked in for borrowing. You'll also see the 9 million that we took out during the year. Obviously, the rates that we got for those. But you will see as well that those are due to mature in October 25, May 26, June 26. Secure better rates from that bond. We pay 228,000 interest on our borrowing at an average rate of 3.62%. Slippage is in the capital spend. Our strategy of internal borrowing and delaying the external borrowing allows us to reduce our borrowing costs by about 190,000 compared to our original budget. In terms of our investment income, internally managed funds earn 448,000 at an average rate of 4.5%. However, our investments outside of our own bank are at an average rate of 5.2%, above the target rate of 4%.
Thank you, Adam. Again, all clear. Any questions, members? No? Getting those scot free.
Every time.
Okay, so we're asked to recommend the annual treasury management report 24-25 be noted, and the action 24-25 potential and treasury indicators are approved.
Thanks, Tony.
Moved by Councillor James, seconded by Councillor Bushel. All those in favour? Welcome, Councillor Bullock, sorry. Councillor Bushel.
Hiding behind it.
Who's the place up here?
Where for Scotland?
So that closes our first part of our evening. So, as a meeting, time to grab a drink. Councillor Bishop, thanks for you. Thank you. And even Councillor Walton. Yeah. Need to move forward.